Doesn't matter what conversation you need to have with somebody, you can always do it with kindness. If you need to have that tough conversation, you can go into it and you can treat somebody like a human being.
You can.
And remember that day, that might not be the biggest priority on your agenda that day, but to that person you're talking to, that is the most serious thing they're going to hear that day.
I love that around kindness. You can treat people like humans. Yes, there is a thing called tough love. And there is a difference between kindness and nice.
Hi, my name's Mark Hassan-Ali. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at N Family Club, and we have 1,500 team members. And this is my Duvet flip. Think back to when I started in recruitment. I was probably a terrible recruiter.
Was you trying to be a Lord Sugar?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I was. An interview is a conversation, not an interrogation.
What do you think made N Family Club special over other nurseries?
If you look after your team and create an environment for them to then build the culture that we've got underpinned by kindness, that then gets passed on to the child, and then if the child is happy, the customer is happy. The non-negotiable is culture. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept.
Absolutely. And my final question, are you ready? What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
My duvet flip is...
So Mark, welcome to my duvet flip. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You feeling good?
I am, yeah. You made me feel very relaxed.
New year?
Yeah, excited.
What's been going on in your year so far? Anything exciting? What's on your mind at the moment?
Gosh, a lot going through my mind at the moment. It was a busy end to the year because I'm in a business that just is 100 miles an hour, and then busy starts the year because we're growing so fast. So it's an always on approach really for us. So we're, thinking about opening more nurseries, thinking about our expansion plan, thinking about recruiting amazing managers and teams into our nurseries. So it's exciting, but just loads of thoughts going around my head and keeping thinking, how can we do it differently? How can we do it better? How can we keep going? My brain's wired to always think, what's next, which can drive you a little bit mad, but it's exciting as well.
And in terms of anyone who's got a new project, they're starting a new job, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming when there's loads going on. You obviously have to go on to the induction training, then you get your first pay slip at the end of the month, and a lot of young people, loads of people don't know how to read that. What's your advice to when you've got a lot on your plate? How to manage it? Because you just said expansions, growth, how can we be better? How do you manage a good team? Culture, which is a big part of what you love and which is really important to you. But how do you actually just define that into what am I getting done today?
Once I've said all that, the main thing I always have to do, which I always encourage people to do, is take a step back, because I think you can be very quick to run forward and keep doing more, which is, I've been a product of that probably my entire life. But the way that we work is we've got a very simple one-page document, and we've got our goals on it, and we've got our foundations that make our business, 5 things basically. And when I take that step back, and when I encourage people to take a step back, I then look at that and go, is what I'm doing impacting those things there? If it is, great, let's do it. If it's not, I've really got to challenge myself or other people to say, what are you spending that time on? So I now follow a similar thing outside of work as well. So
you got your one pager outside of work?
And it's like, what are the most important things to me in my life? There could be work, family, friends, whatever the things you are. And those 5 things, if I feel like I'm in the whirlwind or I'm kind of feeling a bit overwhelmed or whatever, I do take a step back and I go, am I doing something that's going to help me do these things here? And they can change. If I am, great, do it. If I'm not, then I really challenge myself, and I must have conversations with myself about it and then make a decision on how I'm going to spend my time, because you can head towards burnout, you can head towards all these different things if you don't preserve your own well-being. So I think it's really important to make sure you know why you're doing stuff.
I really like that, because we all have these performance plans and promotion plans and these career plans inside, but you forget to actually work out, what do I actually want for life? And how many holidays do I want to go on? Do I want to get a dog? What do I want to do in my life that enables me to do that? So I love that advice. Create your personal plan, right?
Definitely. And be brutal with yourself as well.
What do you mean by be brutal?
don't do what you think other people want you to do. So society creates these norms or these conditions where we all go, oh yeah, I should get married, I should buy a house, I could do all these things. Do you even care about those things? If you do, great, put them on there. If you don't, do what makes you happy. It can take a bit of time to get to the thing of what makes me happy and what the things that are driving me, but the work's worth it, because when you then work out who you are and what you want and what makes you tick, it becomes so much easier to then prioritize stuff. But it's if you're trying to like fit in with the crowd, and which a lot of us try and do. I try to do that. But then when you get the confidence to go, do you know what? I'm going to be me. These are the things that make me happy. Getting a dog is more important than buying a house or whatever it might be. That's when I think you will make it more manageable, and you'll actually do what you want to do to achieve that plan. Because otherwise, you're doing it for someone else.
Agree. I totally agree. And how long did it take you to get to that stage? Because you say it so so lovely in terms of, yes, don't follow the crowd, but even you can be really strict and have a really strict plan, and then I call it shiny object syndrome, where something will come along, you're like, oh, that is cool, and it's nothing to do with the plan, and then you just end up like doing it, and you're just like, no, I shouldn't. Do I need to be doing that? So what's your advice to anyone who may be trying to figure out what they stand for, not following the crowd, or they might already do that, but how do they not get sucked back into, oh, that'll be cool?
Yeah, I like that, the shiny thing syndrome, because I've been a victim of that as well. I think up until I joined my current company, which was 5 years ago, I think I was in the shiny syndrome category. I thought, I looked over the fence and went, they've got that, oh, they're doing that, or I want that. And it was only then, now that I've kind of truly found the place where I jump out and I go, yeah, this is me, that I finally did it. I think one of the big ways I've done that is by making sure I've got the right people around me, and or people and things, if I'm honest. So, and what I mean by that is, who are the people? There's a book I read, and it talks about your square squad. Who are those people, those 4 people that you trust so much that you can bear all, and you can say to them, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I'm working on, and they'll give you feedback, they'll talk to you, they'll be honest with you. They won't fluff you up and all the rest of it, but they're a good sense check. When I did that, and then truly understood and started actually hearing feedback and understanding what I was good at, but actually there were things I needed to work on, then I started developing a plan for myself, going, well, actually, I can make this happen and I can do this. So I think get people around you that you trust, or when I talk about things, if you're into books or podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever it might be, find those things, get the inspiration from those things, but make sure you've got someone or some people that you trust that are going to give you honest feedback, because I think we can float along for a while thinking we're doing really well and everything's going great, and sometimes you get people that are just kind of fluffing you around the edges, and I've had that. For years I didn't really get any feedback from people. I thought I was amazing. Actually, there's a lot of things I need to work on and develop on.
We all do, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. But that honesty, I think, is so valuable.
You call it the square squad. I like that.
Yeah.
The square squad. So 4 people. What should that square squad be made up of? Like, what type of people? Like, who should be in there? Obviously, people you can trust, people that don't fluff things up. But is one like a lawyer? Like, what is your square squad made up of? Like, break that down to us.
Yeah. And just to say, I stole that from Brené Brown, so it's not mine, unfortunately. I think your square squad, first and foremost, go with people that you trust, because it doesn't have to be a lawyer, an accountant, or anything like that. One of my square squad is my mum. She is brutally honest with me about everything. I know exactly where I stand with her. Sometimes a bit too brutal, but I need that sometimes. So I've got my mum in that square squad. I've got somebody that I work with a lot, because there's a similarity between what we do. We go through similar things and it works. I've got somebody in there that I used to work with who is so much younger than me, but gives me so much wisdom and light in terms of what my outlook is versus the world, and really challenges me. And the other person is a mentor that I've got based in the US. So it can change though. They do alternate, or it can get bigger. I try and keep.
Sometimes it becomes a triangle.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or octagon. But don't overthink it, and don't think, oh, I need to get someone who's done this for 20 years or whatever. Actually, have a conversation with those people. Who are the people that you go to? You probably know them already. Look on your phone. Who are the people that if you were in a situation where you were feeling back against the wall and not sure what to do, who would you phone first? They're probably one of your square squad, to be honest. Equally, if you were celebrating something and having the best time ever, who would be the person that you pick up the phone to? Because that's how I kind of positioned it with myself, because it all comes down to trust.
And it doesn't matter what age you are, everyone should have their square squad.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. I wish I had it at school. I wish I thought about that when I was at school and thought I probably did in a way with a teacher that I loved and really supported me and looked out for me and friends, but actually probably without knowing, maybe some people have already done that without calling it that. But I think we all should, it doesn't matter about age.
I agree. Did you enjoy school, or was you a good student, or was you a naughty boy?
I was,
or a mix of the both.
I think I was a mix of the both. So I'm 6'7", and I shot up at like the age of 14, much to my mum's surprise and panic, because she had to start buying adult clothes for me rather than children's clothes. It came with its pluses and minuses. It came with people looked at you and they thought, oh yeah, gave you a lot of responsibility and all the rest of it. But the downside to that was people forgot you were 15 years old. So I felt a lot of pressure at school. So I liked school a lot. I wasn't the best student. I didn't do the best at my GCSEs by far. If I'm honest, my GCSEs were terrible. But then when I did somehow manage to stay on for A-levels, and then they got better. But I think that was about choice. I think it was about doing the things I wanted to do. So I was a bit mouthy at school probably, but I kind of got away with it because the teachers liked me. But yeah, I worked hard, but I wasn't, I don't know if it's left side or right side of the
Mouthy
brain.
in a cheeky way.
Yeah, exactly, not rude. But I did all right, but I didn't do as well as I could have done. I struggled. Maths and science for me was so tough, and it went over my head. But like English and drama and languages, I loved, because I could go, oh yeah, I can use that, or it's practical. So it's I was all right at school. An interesting fact about me is when I was 18, I was a holiday rep in Greece, and of an evening, I used to dress as a dolphin.
Cool. And do you believe everything in life is a choice?
No.
So could we choose to make choices? But what about if something's happening where you don't have no control of that choice? What do you do then? It can be, imagine you go into a job and then you're in this job and you come up to your probation and you don't pass it.
Yeah. I think that there are some things, when I think about work, the kind of the balancing act you've got when you come to work is you've got your moral compass, your personal values that you've got, but then you've also depending on the role you're doing, and most roles, you've then got your work morals that you need to do, and that sometimes can collide. And that I struggled with that a lot in my career, because I go, no, because I'm all about fairness and inclusion and making sure people feel like they can be themselves at work. But then I'm working for a company who in the past you might have said to me, no, we need to fit everyone into this box and do these things, which I'd struggled with. But if you're in a work environment, I think it doesn't matter what conversation you need to have with somebody, you can always do it with kindness. So we have to have tough conversations with people. I've had to do it my entire career. Some things go really well, you can congratulate people and celebrate them. When things are not going well, and maybe it's not the right fit or not the right time, or probation's going to be not going to be passed, I always think you can do it with kindness, and we've actually got kindness, the word kindness, in our values, so it's really important. We call it playing as a team, and it's underpinned by kindness, warmth, and belonging. And it's not just a mission statement or a marketing message. So if you need to have that tough conversation, you can go into it and you can treat somebody like a human being.
You can,
and remember that day, that might not be the biggest priority on your agenda that day. You might be having 10 conversations with people, but to that person you're talking to, that is the most important thing, or the most serious thing they're going to hear that day. They then have to go home and they then have to process that and realise, I might not have a job tomorrow. So I just think the roles that we do as leaders, we have to make sure we package it in a way that it lands with kindness and we don't screw people over.
I love that around kindness. I've spoken about kindness on LinkedIn every week for the last 5 years, because I just believe that you can treat people like humans. Yes, there is a thing called tough love, and there is a difference between kindness and nice.
Correct.
And if you can understand the two, then you can be truly kind. And I did a post, I think it was last week, don't use kindness as a calculation move, which we're seeing in business.
Yes.
Be pure, be kind, because you know what? You never know what bridges you have to cross again, or you never know how someone's feeling that day, and that little extra bit of kindness may just change the whole conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
How can people be kind in the workplace? What are some of the examples? Because it's easier said than done. We practice it, we preach it and practice it, you and I, as I've seen behind the scenes today. But sometimes it comes harder for others to actually put it into practice, and then you get the ones that don't believe in it, that say everyone's a snowflake and everything in between. But how would someone who wants to actually practice kindness in the workplace and believes it can do that through their actions? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think two big things for the workplace. One is hold the mirror up. Whatever role people are going into, or whatever situation people are going into, we always, in our workplace, we always talk about holding the mirror up. And what we mean by that is, if you were the person that was receiving the information that you're about to deliver, how would you want it to be received? Because if you're going in there all guns blazing and blindsiding somebody and making them feel terrible, you would feel terrible and you would go away. So I think you've got to be reflective. It doesn't matter what situation you go in. Some people say you've got to take 4 deep breaths before you go in, all the rest of it. I think you have to go, how is this going to land? Plan it. Do not wing it when you're having a tough conversation with somebody. Go into that conversation with kindness at the heart of it. And the second thing to that, linked to that, is the blindsiding piece. I think the worst thing you can do to somebody in a work environment, well, in any environment, is blindside them. Going into a conversation with somebody, back to the probation point, if you're going to fail someone's probation for whatever reason, they should go into that meeting knowing it's going to be failed. Because there will be a build up to it. There could be signs on the wall. You could have subtly made things or whatever, or you might have had a conversation with them prior to that. I just think the worst thing to do is get someone in a room and blindside them on something that they just did not see come. I mean, sometimes it's hard.
That's what I'm doing to you right now, because you don't know the question.
Exactly. But you're being kind.
No, I know.
But you're being kind, that's all good.
It's all positive. But it's true, isn't it? Like, I think there's little things that you can do that can make a big difference. How do you be kind in an interview?
Yes, love that. So my career started in recruitment, and I think back to when I started in recruitment, I was probably a terrible recruiter who didn't treat people well or make people feel the best that they possibly could, because I was learning and because I watched other people and thought, oh yeah, you've got to be really cutthroat, you've got to wear your power suit, you've got to go in there and you've got to interview someone, and even things like kind of sitting across the table.
Was you trying to be a Lord Sugar?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I was. So I used to think, right, put your suit on and then you go in there and you drill people and you get to and that's how you get to the bottom of it. No, that's not how you get to the bottom of it. And I came up with this line years ago, and I said, an interview is a conversation, not an interrogation. And I firmly stand by that. You will get the best out of people if you do this. If you have a conversation with somebody, a structured conversation that you're prepared for, but you will get more out of them in an interview than if you go in there and go, right, I've got 50 questions I need to ask you today because this is what the system says. You can ask those 50 questions in a conversational way. And also the other thing in interviews, because you've got your 50 questions, you might answer something. So I might ask you a question, you might just drop in, oh yeah, and when I travelled around South America, if you're sticking to your 50 questions, you dismiss the fact that someone just told you something really interesting, which probably will answer 10 of your questions around communication, resilience, organisation, prioritisation, all of those things. So there's an art to it, but I think the way you do it is you plan for that interview, you make sure it's a conversation, because if you conversationalise it, the person feels at ease and you will get 100 times more out of that person. If you go in there with your clipboard or laptop, that sounds so old-fashioned saying that, or your laptop going, right, we're going to go through 50 questions today. You need consistency, but you can do it in a different way. And I think this is where some companies go wrong, in my opinion, is you stick so firmly to those 50 questions you have to answer in such a regimented way that you don't get the best out of people.
Sounds like my drive when I went for my driving test.
Really?
They're like, turn left.
Yeah.
It's true though, build the relationship,
yes.
Right? Why do you think we're still in a world, in the business world, where people feel they have to be cutthroat and this structure of, no, can't speak to you now, rather than humanising everything, because you're dealing with people.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot more out of people in terms of how they feel, relationship, kindness, their mental health, if you're just having a conversation and you bring them along the way.
Yeah.
But I've gone into organisations, and I remember going into an organisation and there was like 9 values on the wall, and the CEO was showing me around as they want to show off their ship as the captain.
Yeah.
And he said, these are 9 values. So I stood in front and I said, what does this one say? And they couldn't tell me. And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yes.
There's one having values on the wall, and there's one actually believing in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said at the start, sometimes you have to take a step back, look at your one-pager and say, okay, what journey are we on?
Yeah.
And then reissue that to wherever you need to reissue that, but with kindness.
Exactly. And I think that organisations feel like they have to rush everything. And when I say rush, I don't mean people should slow down, but we can all work at pace. We work at rapid pace. We're opening 10 to 15 nurseries a year in our nursery. But what you can do is you can make sure you focus your time in the right ways. This cutthroat environment, I don't know, there's Wolf of Wall Street and all these sorts of films where people kind of aspire to go, oh, that's how you need to be in business. Actually, you don't. Business is changing. It's globalized. People are people. They're human beings. And the amount of organizations I've worked in that have had shiny marketing messages and values on the wall, and exactly that, no one's living and breathing them. You have to make sure that they are ingrained into the environment. You can't build culture. You can't just go, right, today we're going to have a great culture and it's going to live by these 3 values. What you have to do is make sure everyone across that business, starting with the founder or the CEO or that leadership team, are living them day in, day out. And the kindness thing is a great example, because that kindness will come across in all of your interactions, whether you're, for us, out visiting nurseries, whether you're dealing with a tough conversation and having to move somebody on, or whether you're celebrating success. Or I think that's when organisations come into their own, when things get tough. And so, we had a horrible experience with one of our team members passed away recently, and the way that our nurseries, that team came and rallied around the team, the family, it was not even, we didn't even have to think about it. It just naturally came. And that was one of the moments where I thought our culture just stands out here, because one of the worst things that could possibly happen to one of our team members has happened. We were all there to support. It was a natural thing. We came together and, in a little way, hopefully made the family feel better about things, or help them get through these things. And I think we're not saving lives in the role that we're doing, but we are doing something that's really important, because we're educating children and we're putting more value back into the sector. Exactly. But I just think if you go into it with a mindset of this cutthroat, this we need to be ruthless to get things done. No, you just need to have really good values at the core of it. Make sure you recruit well, make sure the culture is built from the ground up, and that you stand true to who you are. And that's the thing that we've done in our organisation. The non-negotiable is culture. It's not their people. We've a saying, if in doubt, call it out. And we do that from a safety perspective, but also from a culture perspective as well. And one of our regional directors, we were at a conference last week, and she says, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And I love that, because if you see some behaviour or some interaction that falls short, you should call it out. We've created that culture. That culture has been created. It doesn't matter who it is. If I'm falling short of it, I get called out on it. And everyone's human beings. But I just think if you go into it with good intentions and you lead with kindness in what you're doing, then even the worst situations, you can get a good outcome. So I'm not in the camp of cutthroat, for sure.
Are you a movie man? Do you watch movies? So have a culture more like The Intern rather than Devil's Wear Prada.
Yes, exactly. Definitely not Devil Wears Prada. Yeah. I've worked in organisations like that, and I've been made to feel like I can't be myself in that culture. And we talk a lot about vulnerability at N, and I've been in an organisation before where showing vulnerability equals weakness, and I moved on from that organisation. I was brave enough to do that. Some people don't; they stick with it, and it took a lot. But vulnerability comes in all different shapes and sizes. I don't think you can truly get to know somebody. You definitely can't have a square squad unless you show vulnerability. And I think the word is underused because I think there are still connotations around, oh, it's weakness. Oh, if you're vulnerable, men can't be vulnerable. No, they absolutely can, and they should.
Strength.
Exactly, it's a strength. And actually, now that I have embraced vulnerability, and we're in this environment in our culture which is surrounded in kindness and positivity and warmth, and making sure everyone can come to work as themselves, I think my productivity is so much better. And I think the fact that our teams see us being vulnerable as leaders, they are vulnerable with us and they're open with us. We get so much feedback.
It works then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Works. I want to talk a little bit about Family Club and everything, how it operates. Why is it getting so good Ofsted rating and is it good and outstanding?
Yeah, they're the top grades. Yeah.
They're the top rated ones. I want you to break it down. You're the obviously operations leader for it. Yeah. So break it down. How does it operate? How does it work? What's so special? Because all the competition are looking at you as the
annoying little brother.
The annoying little brother that's making a difference, right? So tell me a little bit about the club and everything in between.
Yeah, great. So founded in 2017 by Phil. He just had this idea that nurseries can be better in the UK, and actually that's the reason why I joined N as well, because when I was at school, it wasn't promoted to me as being a great career move to go into childcare. It was almost like, oh, well, if you're not going to go and do this academic route, you could go and work with children. And I think his big mission was always put more value back into the sector. Great for us, but also great for the wider sector. So we founded in 2017.
And did Phil come from a background?
No, Phil did some time in finance and then hated it. And then he was thinking about having children and looked around and thought, actually, there's a gap in the offering in the UK market. So he did loads of research, didn't want to do anything in tech and wanted to do something that was going to give back. Didn't have any children yet, and thought, let's build something cool here. He's from Scotland originally. When he grew up, there was all of his family lived walking distance where he lived, came to London, got married, thinking about having children, and realised, where's your support network? Where's the community? So that's where the family club bit comes in the N family. So we thought we'd create that as a business. Fast forward from the business plan, which was originally to just create 10 amazing nurseries in East London. We now have 40 operational nurseries and we're opening 10 to 15 a year. Wow. And that's no mean feat. We looked at the stats, we compared the number of new openings of any multi-site business in the UK, and we compared ourselves to some of the high street brands that you might know of. They tend to be doing between 2 and 5 a year, and we're doing an average of 10 a year. An interesting fact about N Family Club, 50% of our nurseries are graded Ofsted Outstanding or above, and only 9% of companies achieve that. So
you're doing an average of 10 a year, and you say it's so easy. Like
I say it.
Like the operational, the logistics and the financing and the marketing and branding and everything in between just to go into one.
Yes.
But you're doing 10 of them.
Yes.
So on average, say in the year, you probably do have around 2 months break in terms of Christmas and all the breaks in between, bank holidays and that. Yeah. So you're launching one a month on average.
Pretty much, yeah. And actually this year we're trying to push ourselves to do 12. So actually it will be one a month. Yeah, and you're right. No, and I talk as if it's like really straightforward, but if I think back 5 years when I joined, we were learning, and we still are every day. We didn't have the perfect playbook to opening a nursery, but and it was a lot of probably learning and making mistakes, and to get to the point we are now, where we are really strong at opening organic nurseries. We know what it takes. We know what we need. We know that the leader is one of the most important decisions you have to make. Get the right leader that's in place, aligns with us as our culture and our values. That nursery will be successful because we've got all the tools and the support that they need. So we put a lot of value and a lot of time into getting the right nursery manager that joins. And then, the playbook works. I think we just learned from loads of mistakes, and we looked at the areas that are working really well, we are laser focused on that one pager. So we hold ourselves to account. If we're doing something that doesn't contribute towards that one pager, we don't do it. I think back to when I started, we used to talk about our projects we need to do. We had a list of about 50 projects we wanted to do. This year, we've got 2.
Nice.
So that's the transition, and we're learning all the time. You know, we came together as a leadership team. There's 5 of us. We've been through highs and lows, but we've stuck together. We've done loads of work together. That's the bit I think that's different. We've done the work to work out who we are, what we stand for, and it aligns with the business.
I love that, because you get excited because you want to change for the community. Last year we had 15 brands. Yeah, we've got 2 now.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got Youth Group, and then we've got Duvet Flip.
There you go.
So it's now really focused in, because you do think this, but actually if you do this and do this really well,
Exactly.
you can achieve. And then, like you said, you build your playbook along the way. And you will learn. How long did it take to build that playbook? How many nurseries had to be kind of opened before you started to realise, okay, this really works, or this really works? The playbook existed when I joined in 2020, and we had 3 nurseries, but the work that went into it was epic. And so in 2020 you only had 3 nurseries?
Yes.
And now you've got 40?
In 4 years, yes.
Wow.
So that's, my beard used to be all black when I was there, but I'm still smiling. So the playbook has evolved, and
Sorry, you shouldn't have said that. The editors are going to do some really fun things with that.
That's all right. The playbook worked to get us to 3. It then worked to get us to 10, but then I think that the risk of when things are working is you can get complacent, and that's the big watch out. That's the holding the mirror up. Are we getting complacent and thinking, oh yeah, we're the best at this, it all works? No, we should be thinking, how can we do it even better? So we evolved the playbook every year, and then we looked at it, and I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, we've now very comfortably been in a position where we go, this works, but we should keep challenging ourselves on why it works and how we can do it even better. So if we didn't do that work and make the mistakes, I don't think we could be opening 10 to 15 nurseries this year. So I think it's really, really important that we keep going back to it and just don't go, what got us here is going to get us there, because that's not always the case. We should challenge ourselves, and we've now got a good group of people who really do challenge us and give us feedback, tell us the things we're doing well, tell us things we could do better. But we also look outside of the sector as well, because there's some great stuff that's happening in the earlier sector. But we also look outside, not only in the UK, but overseas as well. Who's doing great stuff? We did a trip to the Netherlands. We're looking at the US. There's different things that we can do. We shouldn't just sit there in our little ivory tower and go, we do it the best here, so we're just going to keep doing that. There are elements of it we are fixated on, like safety. We know how to keep all of our children and our team safe. We will never negotiate on that. But then there are other areas that we can do around our customer experience that we can go, that's a great example. We could do that, or that's working really well, or that's not working well. Let's tweak and evolve that.
What do you think made N Family Club special over these other nurseries who may be 10 times bigger at the moment, or other ones? Why have you stuck around? Why are you growing so quickly? Why is it working? What do you think is the secret ingredients or the special ingredients?
I think from a customer perspective, our offer, we do what we say we're going to do. So if we say we're going to deliver you a bespoke curriculum, and we do that day in, day out, we deliver a bespoke curriculum. So we're absolutely focused on delivering the promise that we've made to our customers. But then on the team side as well, we said from the outset, we want to put more value back into the sector for our team, so they feel valued, they feel like they're doing a role that is representative and gives back, and they're rewarded well. You know, we give good annual leave allowances. We always do a pay review every year. We pay bonuses. We give them their lunch. You know, we don't make them wear a uniform because you can feel a bit caged in by wearing a uniform. All those things. We did the listening to then do that. So I think the reason is because if you look after your team and create an environment for them to then build the culture that we've got underpinned by kindness, that then gets passed on to the child. And then if the child is happy, the customer is happy. We couldn't do what we do without our team. It's a people business. So of course you have to prioritise your team and make sure that they're looked after and they're supported, because every single interaction impacts a child.
And language is really important for you, isn't it? You don't like the word employee.
Correct.
And you call them team.
Yes.
You've got 1,500 team members.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you call them team members?
Team members, yeah.
What is that? What kind of careers and roles do those 1,500 individuals do?
Yeah. So 90%.
Obviously, one of them's the COO.
That's me. Yeah. So 90% of our team are out, and they're either in nurseries or field-based. So the biggest portion of our team are based in nurseries. So in a nursery, you've got your nursery manager, you've got your deputy managers. You then have, as part of that management team, you've got a front of house manager. They're the person that deals with all the experience when the children and the families first come in. They look after some of the sales stuff, the marketing stuff. Then you've got your kitchen team. We have an on-site chef at every nursery.
Wow.
And we have apprentices that are learning to be chefs. And then in the rooms, so you could have 4 to 12 plus nursery rooms, depending on the size of the nursery. Every room has a room manager, and they would report into the deputy. So they work really closely. And then in the rooms, you've got educators. We call them educators, which I think is really important. There's various terms that you can call people that educate the 0 to 5s. They are educating children. So we, again, putting the value back onto the sector. I think language is really important. And within that, you've got qualified educators at different levels. You can go from a level 2 all the way up to a level 7. You've got unqualified educators. They might be starting out, so they could do the apprenticeship route, or they could just carry on being an unqualified educator because they just love children, don't really want to do the qualification, but want to work in the sector. You can do that. You've got different people that are doing graduate courses and all sorts. So
do you have an early years qualification?
I don't have an early years qualification.
But you learn every day.
Every single day of the week, I feel like I'm getting the best early years apprenticeship I possibly could, because every time I go out to nurseries, I learn something new, and I look at those educators and the impact they're having on the children, and I just get blown away by it. And whenever I leave a nursery, I always call one of my Square Squad, and I just tell them about the experience that I've had, and it's just amazing. And I was in one of our nurseries recently, and there was a child with special educational needs, and the impact that our educators had on that child and the family was just incredible. And I observed practice and the journey they'd had from when he was a baby, and he's now 3 years old, and the impact he's had. And I just kind of walk away and I go, that's incredible. That's why you get out of bed. It's just, and that's why the little part I can play in creating an environment and conditions for people to be able to do that is so important, because they're not just working in a nursery playing with children, they are supporting families, they're educating children.
They're educators,
and they're preparing children for this ever-changing world that we're all about heading into. You know, when we're long gone, they're going to be the leaders, they're going to be the people that are out there.
On each nursery has, how many people do you say? 20?
Yeah, probably a small nursery, maybe 20, 30, but you could have up to 50, 60.
Wow, so between 20 to 60 team members at each one, and you're opening 10 to 12 this year. So a lot of opportunity for people to get involved with. Definitely,
yeah. And the exciting part about that is creating the opportunities, because in every nursery we open, there is this melting pot of roles and opportunity for people, whether you want to work in the kitchen, whether you want to learn and do a management route, whether you want to go in and just be the best possible housekeeper or educator or lunch cover. Because within the nursery, I think we've got something like 26 different working patterns.
Wow.
So flexibility is really, really important to us.
So this is bank staff.
You got bank team. So we got bank in there as well. So about 30% of our workforce are on casual working agreements, and they're doing the flex, which works for them. And they flex up, they flex down. Sometimes they go into fixed term contracts. Sometimes they are very happy doing this.
So that's around their lives,
exactly.
Right?
But then we've got job shares, we've got part time, we've got full time, we've got different definitions of full time. We call it N-flex. So everyone says a 40-hour week is the most is full time. Actually, we would argue that, and we would say you can also do a 36-hour week as well, and different variations of that. And I think that's the learning as well that we've done, is stop trying to force everybody into one lane. Actually listen to what they're doing, listen to the changes of the market, listen to what people need, and create an environment where they can go in and do the best work. Because if we do that, plus have the culture that we have, they're going to do amazing work, and they're going to have a huge impact on those children that they're educating. I think the danger zone is when you think everyone needs to fit into this parameter here. And I think earlier sector probably had a bit of that in terms of we've always done it this way. So we're here to kind of go, we might have done it that way, and that might work for a portion of people. Actually, what about this portion of people that we're turning off?
Hence why being the annoying little brother.
Exactly. Pulling at the coattails.
What do you think is going wrong? What's currently one thing that you're in the industry that you see that's just terrible that needs to change?
It comes back to the value that is being put on the sector. So there's a lot of conversation at the moment around getting people back to work and therefore needing more childcare spaces in the UK. We agree, absolutely. But the investment in getting people into childcare careers has not been done. So it hasn't been positioned as a desirable career. Even if you take teachers as an example, there is provenance that comes with being a teacher. And, you know, there's the register of teachers that you go on and all the rest of it. As an example, just to share, if you're an early years educator and you're qualified, you can't go onto the teaching database and check and see if you're qualified. You go onto the DfE website, you do a control alt on an Excel spreadsheet, and you have to look it up yourself. Oh, wow. It's things like that which, for me, don't put value on the sector, because those people that work in early years have trained and they've spent hours doing their qualifications. That should be registered, and that should be noticed that they've put that effort in. They're qualified educators to work with children under 5. Let's give them the value so that when they go and get a new job or get promoted or whatever it is, you can see them on the database. They've been registered in the same way as doctors and teachers are. That's such a simple thing to me, but it would put more value back onto the sector to say, you're important, you're trusted, you're needed, you're valued. And I couldn't believe that when I joined the sector, and I was learning the whole compliance world and what the do's and don'ts of regulation. And then when I saw this downloadable Excel spreadsheet where you have to do Control F find name, and then you have to work it out for yourself to make sure we have something called full and relevant. If it's a full and relevant qualification, it just blew my mind. And I was thinking, if you're not even doing that at a basic level to recognise that someone has worked hard on a qualification, then why exactly? So it's tough. So I think government and I think the sector need to continue lifting up early years workers and making people realise the impact they're having. The 0 to 5-year-old brain development is the most brain development that you have as an individual. You start forming your personality, your identity, and all of those important milestones. So it baffles me as to why we're not shouting more about early years and saying this is a sector we should be investing in. We should be building up careers and really shouting about the fact this is a really desirable career, because I've seen it firsthand, having come into the sector for the first time 5 years ago, and not really getting it and going, why, early years at school that was kind of told to I was told that wasn't really that much of a desirable career. I've now seen it in practice for the past 5 years, and it is one of the most challenging, complex sectors and jobs I think ever, but one of the most rewarding. And when you see the impact they're having on the children, it's just breathtaking, and it's just one of the most amazing careers that you could possibly have. An interesting fact about the UK early years industry is that it contributes almost 7 billion to the economy.
And why should someone who's listening in, who may be considering a career, apply to you guys?
If they are considering a career and they're not even, maybe they're thinking, I like children, I'm interested in children, you've got to have some passion. There's got to be a passion there for children, education, development. Even if you've only got a little bit of that and want to learn a bit more, N Family Club will make sure that you come into an environment that just nurtures your growth and your development.
With lots of kindness. With
lots of kindness. You can come as you are. Whatever package you come in, come to us. I don't care what package you come in. There's a place for you at N, and we don't want people to come in and try and be somebody else. So simple things like the whole wear what you want to work, have whatever colour hair you want, whatever. That's important because actually we're not trying to create loads of lemmings. We want people to come in, and the parents love it because the attachment they have to those individuals is huge because they're looking after their children. So if you want to come into an environment where you can be yourself, you can learn, you can grow, but also you don't have to fit into a mould, End Family Club is a great environment for that. Our employer branding strapline is for dreams of all sizes, and it really is. So I mentioned that if you want to come in and want to be the best educator that works 20 hours a week and just covers lunches, there's a place for you. That's the dream of your size that we can fill. If you want to come in and you want to come in as an apprentice and work your way up to managing director, come in and join us. There's a place
if you
for
want to be the next Jamie Oliver, start in the kitchen.
Exactly. There's opportunities for you because actually, I think the food thing's really interesting early years because the offering, you can imagine, a bit basic in standard nurseries. Whereas actually, talking of Jamie Oliver, actually his nutritionist helped develop our plan, and we have a really nutritious, varied offering, which is interesting. So if you are coming into that route and you want to kind of work in the kitchen, you can become a chef, but you can create really interesting, nutritious food that's helping feed the brain of these 0 to 5s. So it's just thinking differently and making sure we're not just doing the norm, we're not just going with the status quo. Actually come in and do something that you feel that you are having an impact on, and you'll leave every day, I think, feeling like you've achieved something.
I can feel that in you. I can feel it. We've only got time for 2 more questions. Okay. What is your advice to anyone who's applying for a job right now? Because it's quite hard when there's loads of applicants.
Yeah.
How does someone stand out?
Yeah. My advice would be, and it's easy for me to say this, be yourself. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. If you're applying for a job, read that job advert, do the research. So once you've read the advert, go onto the website, go onto the social media, go onto the Glassdoor, do your research. Because I think even if you think you know everything about that organisation, make sure you do your due diligence, because it's as much about you interviewing the company as it is about them interviewing you. You don't want to go into there and go, actually it's not for me. Well, we can make mistakes, but actually do your due diligence, because it will come across in the interview as well. And I think, but be yourself. If you're in an interview situation and you're nervous or you're feeling like, I hate interviews, and interviews are artificial. They are the flawed processes because you're put on a spotlight and you're told to tell people things about you. Be open in that interview. Tell the person. If someone came into an interview with me and said, actually feeling a bit anxious about this meeting, that's good, because I can then respond. Obviously, some organisations might operate differently to that, but I just think, be yourself, make yourself stand out. Think of the things that make you, you, and get those through your CV or through your application. The worst applications I see and have seen in my career are the one size fits all. So as much as we don't want the employer to be a one size fits all for you when you're applying the job, we want you to come as yourself, and we should not treat you like a one size fits all. Don't treat your application like a one size fits all. I've even seen applications where people have they've obviously applied somewhere else, and they still kind of talk to that. So, it's quite common to have 2 or 3 versions of your CV. Why not have that? Have one that's focused on childcare, have one that's focused on retail, have one that's focused on whatever other sector you're looking at. Just tweak and change, get a few buzzwords in there.
So it's good to have a few different formats of your CV.
Definitely. I think so.
Great advice.
And just once you've done your research and once you've looked at the website, but check the socials as well, because that will show you who the company is, hopefully on a day-to-day basis, and then you'll be able to work out whether it's for you as well. Because we in recruitment used to have a saying called spray and pray. So basically, I know some people still do that, just throw 100 CVs out to 100 companies. There's probably some maths in that, which probably means you probably will get some callbacks. So there is there. But do you want that job? Is it better to continue working, I don't know, at that bar or that coffee shop until you get the right job? Or do you know what I mean? That's the balancing act. Or is it better to wait and keep working in that shop or keep working in that bar until you get the role that you're excited about?
Goes back to your point, everyone wants to rush things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to
slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah, and it's hard because everyone wants to move really fast and they want to do it, and might be worried about money or whatever it might be. I personally think there's always a way to make money. Might not be the job that you want to do. Did I want to work in that bar or that hotel or that supermarket? Probably no, I didn't at that time. But it was the best thing I did because it gave
you something for the next thing, right?
Exactly, and it made me. It took the pressure off my rent or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? So there's always a way to do it. There's so many jobs in the UK. It's just about getting the one that makes you tick. And it's okay to make mistakes.
Absolutely. And my final question, are you ready?
Okay.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
My duvet flip is the fact that I am in a role where I can have an impact on so many people that are having an impact on children. And I think that just puts it into perspective for me. I can jump out of bed and I can do something that helps 1,500 people to feel like they can come to work as themselves. And because of that, they then perform in their nursery roles that has a positive impact on our team, on our children and our families. So that's definitely my
That's a duvet flip and a half, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll squeeze 2 in there.
Plus the 10 to 12 that you've got to open this year.
Oh yeah, I've got to do that as well. Yeah, exactly.
As long as it fits into the one-pager mark.
Exactly. Don't go away from that one-pager. Got to keep me focused.
Well, I just want to say thank you for joining us today on My Duvet Flip, for giving your wisdom, your knowledge, your golden nuggets, your storytelling. It's been a roller coaster, and we've been talking for another 25 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much.
No, it's been great. Thank you.